Everyone, welcome to the virtual Advanced Innovation Manufacturing CXO Forum. Thank you all. Great morning to all of you and welcome to this session. And this is going to be an interesting and interactive session today, wherein the audience will also get to post some of your questions into the Q&A box, and we'll get to address all of them today. All right, so today's topic is about future-proofing Singapore's innovation and manufacturing, talent, AI tech, and sustainability in the next industrial era. So for those who do not know me, my name is Renee from Hashtaqs and Advanced Innovation and Manufacturing Asia, where we propel the sector towards Sustainable Industry 5.0. So that's a little bit about me, but most importantly, I would like to introduce our speakers for today. And first of all, I would like to introduce Lawrence Chee, the country manager of Epicor Singapore. He has over 20 years of IT industry experience, helping organizations solve business challenges through ERP software solutions. And he's currently the country manager for Singapore at Epicor, overseeing sales operations, executing business strategies, and expanding the partnership ecosystem. And his work centers on simplifying tech decisions and helping organizations improve business processes with practical, customized solutions. Now let's welcome Lawrence Chee up on screen. And next up, we have Kenneth, the Deputy Chairman of Singapore Computer Society Sustainable Tech Group, and he has over 10 years of experience in sustainability and partnership management, and is passionate about creating positive impact for businesses, communities, and environment, and is currently the Global Sustainability Lead at Razer, a leading gaming and lifestyle brand, and he drives the company's efforts toward carbon neutrality and social responsibility. And he oversees regional matters, engaging with external stakeholders, including investors, customers, NGOs, and government as well. Let's welcome Kenneth up on screen. And next up, I'd like to introduce Lexley, the head of AI Automation Tech Consulting from RSM Singapore. He specializes in transforming businesses across digital strategy, process, and governance. And starting his career as a qualified accountant and auditor, he has over 25 years of experience serving clients, both as an external consultant and C-suite roles, and is currently the regional director and leader for strategic risk and innovation at a global Big Four firm, and served as the group CEO of a regional BPO focused on government and energy sectors as well. But of course, he holds several advisory roles, and he also serves as a vice chair of the Future Ready Committee as a district councillor with the Southeast Community Development Council. Let's welcome Lexley up on screen. Next up, we'd like to welcome Dr. Khairill Rassidy, the strategic partner of Deluge ProSAFE of Deluge Fire Protection Southeast Asia. And he has a doctorate in business admin and over 20 years of cross-sector experience, specializing in sustainable business education, curriculum innovation, and talent development across industries. And with expertise in several areas from risk management all the way to project leadership, he integrates ESG principles into teaching and consultancy as well. Let's welcome Dr. Khairill up on screen as well. Okay, all right. So we're going to kick off with today's session on the topic on future-proofing Singapore's innovation and manufacturing. And I'm going to ask our panelists this very first question. And this would be, the Singapore's Manufacturing 2030 vision aims to increase manufacturing value add by 50% by 2030, and to position Singapore as a global business innovation and talent hub for advanced manufacturing, according to MTI report. So from your industry perspective, what key enablers must be harnessed and which obstacles must be overcome to realize this vision, especially as manufacturing evolves toward a more human-centric, resilient, and sustainable Industry 5.0 future? Now, let's begin with Lex. Perhaps you could share with us your point of view.
Thanks, Renee. Morning, everyone. Thanks for having me. Good morning. So I take that question as a very practical question, because right now as the dust is still not settled and is trying to settle in the AI adoption journey. A lot of people are asking tough questions like, what's my ROI? How come I spend so much money and it doesn't work out? What is stopping me from achieving success? Why? In fact, a lot of reports out there are saying that there are a lot of failures. So I think Singapore, we would like to take, of course, a smarter approach to learn from other people's mistakes and also to look internally, practical point of view. So from my experience, I think we may have not recognized the fact that this AI adoption is not just layering of a technology on a problem. It is really in our context a transformation. And for any transformation, the first question we always ask for ourselves and our clients is, are we ready? Right. So if we phrase it and we term it and we frame it from a readiness perspective, I think we will be able to see that it comes in very, very different aspects. Number one, in fact, there are two main aspects that I see are contributing to a lot of failures in AI adoption. And of course, I can also share with you some of the bigger aspects. So the most practical two aspects are the people aspects. I think this is no mystery. A lot of people have been talking about it. A lot of people have been trying ways to find ways around it, but it is still one of the key problems. You want to, from my experience at least, the most dangerous are those what we call passive resistance, and they will want to say yes when you say let's do AI, let's do transformation, let's contribute to that. But eventually, you feel that the what they say as yes is really a no. So in that case, what you encounter is that there are a lot of times that projects are supposed to kick off, start. You can't even start because they are always busy. They always have negative news to share, and they always say that okay, let's think about it. You know, I'm not free and stuff like that. Even though they say yes, so people is the first thing. So I think the education of the people in terms of having the right um, AI literacy, even because they need to find out how AI can help them rather than to replace them. Because this came from a very deep set concern of job security, which we will all understand, right? Having that AI literacy, how it can augment you, and having a very clear vision from the organization that, hey, we are not trying to replace you. This is how it will help the organization and helps you as well. So that's the first one that I think I'd like to share. The second one is really data availability. We probably are taking this too lightly because sometimes they say, I just want to do AI, but when I ask further, when we probe in further and understand more, a lot of things are actually not yet even sequenced out. It's not even available, the data. They are still very manual. Some are using papers. Some of them do not really enter the data into the system. Some do not transform that. And even if there are data, these data are not really in a very sequenced, coordinated way, and they still reside in Excel, which is for people like us who uses data for AI purposes, we're very, very inefficient to pull. So this is the second most important part. If your business is in a phase of where you are still transforming, the first thing you need to do is make sure data is there, right? And the third thing is strategy. In fact, a lot of people do not just want to go in and get a headline of AI adoption. However, they may not have realized that without aligning it to their overall broader strategy, it may not work because you are just doing it for the sake of doing it, and that is not right. And the fourth part is very quickly is the process. If your process existingly is not standard, not consistent, have a lot of problems, the last thing you want is to use AI on that process or automate that because you will in fact accelerate your problems. So I thought these few points will bring through some of the key issues being faced by people adopting it.
Interesting one, yeah. There's passive resistance and companies are just not ready, even with data. So let's hear from perhaps Kenneth. What are your thoughts on this and your perspective?
Yeah, I think the most Lex brought out a very interesting point that a lot of people are very concerned about is it going to cost us jobs? Is it going to make us human redundant in this whole process? And I think frankly there's a lot of resistance to change even when data suggests otherwise. And I think if But I mean, when you look at the current situation, if you're not using AI to really optimize and improve your productivity, I think the company would then be lag behind, and we probably lose job anyway. So and also the fact of the matter is over the past 2 decades, when we use our simple Google search, every time there's incremental improvement to the logic that we didn't really notice, but it's just there's so much hype in AI right now, then people start to be a bit more worrisome about tech taking over us. But frankly, the algorithm has been improving over the decades, and it's mounting up to what we are doing right now. And frankly, a lot of things that we're doing in AI now is not very new. Like for example, when you're using ERP system, OCR is a very it's a decades long technique that we use to actually get data information out of PDFs or even physical copies and making sense of it. But now that we have make it much more effective, and people is a little bit worried. So I think more importantly is when you manage internal stakeholders, you need to really communicate and make sure that you understand what they're looking at, and really assure them that we're not taking away their jobs, and we are really giving them and elevating their jobs to a higher level. So that's my 2 cents. Yeah.
Elevating jobs, huh? And next, let's hear from Dr. Khairill. Yeah, what's your perspective?
I do agree with what Lex and Kenneth were saying, right, about passive-aggressive learners. So coming from the educational background aspects, I noticed that the challenge is to get these staff, right, when they integrate the digital tools that can be consolidated in terms of operational, the financial, and the compliance data across different jurisdictions. It is very important that we do not disrupt the ongoing operations. So Deluge has been actually very fortunate. Like after COVID, we do have very lean manpower back then, and that is where we do need to unify our operational aspects in terms of the staff working in the operations part. So in order to retain our supply chain reliability and the customer service quality, this is where we realize that actually we do need a future-ready workforce. And aside from using the OCR ability, and again, as I stressed, that Kenneth was right again, using AI actually have been done by most of the people, but to integrate them within the mindset, to have a growth mindset and a resilient mindset, this is where it is important that we need to ensure that there is growth regionally, and to ensure that there is a consistent data flow to limit the real-time visibility into project performance.
Right. And now let's hear from Lawrence then. I mean, you have so much experience working with manufacturing sectors and mid-tier companies as well. What is your perspective?
Yeah, so thanks for having me. So I guess I think fundamentally, if you're looking at SMEs or in manufacturing sector, there's a lot of talk about, what systems do I have? Is it able to support? My system's too legacy, too disconnected, right? So these are the things that would kind of spawn investment. So if you compare the SMEs with, let's say, a large enterprise, right, a large company, they would obviously be having lesser resources. So they can't be affording to invest a huge amount of money in building their own AI, in building their own data sets. So more or less, they would need something that's ready to use, right, and start reaping the immediate benefits from such a system. So legacy disconnected systems is one of the biggest headaches for SME, especially in manufacturing, where you rely a lot on collection of data, the interpretation of that data, and to keep that data, also the integrity of that data good and clean, right? To give you the right kind of results, the end results. So the other thing about the challenges is also, I think, there's a fear of adopting AI. When I speak to a lot of SMEs, yes, generally you have decision makers or stakeholders that might fear that they might lose their job or get replaced by AI eventually. So there's this thing about AI that a lot of SMEs should look at is the human centricity part of the AI, where it's actually going to help them do their jobs better, freeing up their time to higher quality, more value-added kind of work, rather than the mundane, the repetitive kind of work which they normally do. There's very little value in that. So technology has been replacing that through even the past, like some of speakers have mentioned, like OCR, like RPA, that has already been doing that for some time. So AI is something that's unstoppable. It's inevitable. And even I think if I would refer to Prime Minister's speech for National Day rally, there was a lot of focus on AI, right? So there is also this kind of assurance to Singaporeans or Singaporean companies and SMEs particularly that there will be more resources, more help put into learning adoption, and really we need AI to keep Singapore competitive in the world stage. So this is something that at the end of the day poses a real question to SMEs, like how do you start? Where do I begin? So this is my opinion about that.
Fantastic. And I'm going to have some tailored questions for each one of you right now. I'm going to stop my share so everybody could see you. Now, my first question is for Lex, okay? So based on your experience advising, mid to large manufacturers in Singapore, even in ASEAN, what strategic shifts should manufacturers prioritize to lead with AI adoption as a key enabler, for workforce upskilling and achieving their ESG goals, ensuring that all of these are integrated into coordinated transformation roadmap rather than being treated in silos, different divisions working just on their own. So what's your take on this?
If I think the key word here is strategic shifts, right? So I think we're talking about what are the mindset, what to do from the start, what kind of vision you have. Oftentimes, I think a lot of companies only start to look at AI and automation largely when this word exists, pain points. So what it means is that only when they're in pain they think about it. So I think that one is a key problem, I feel, because again, I'm not saying that you do something without pain, right? Without a problem, you go and do a solution. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that you have to think ahead a bit. Right now, the world is very competitive. We are talking about tariffs coming in. We're talking about the world changing by the minute, depending on what message is pushed on X, right? So these things, you have to have certain level of foresight, certain level of preparedness for this kind of like uncertainties. You have to be resilient, right? You have to be competitive, resilient, and you still need to grow. So I think the strategic shift, it will be in that kind of direction and not so much from, okay, now I'm in pain, let's fix it now. Okay, because by the time you fix it, which will be half a year to a year later, it will be then another pain will come in. You'll always be chasing after your pain. So my point is really think ahead, and if you believe and you have seen enough maybe use cases and maybe enough examples in the world to show you that, hey, this AI is here. Let's find a way to merge it to our business to make the best out of it. Because firstly, you need to grow. Secondly, the guy next door to you is going to do it. Your competitors are going to do it, and you'll be lagging behind. Right? So that is the first thing. And of course, with that in mind, that's where this is in fact the easy part. Okay, maybe not easy part. This is in fact the big shift part, right? But the other part that is equally, if not more important, is that what exactly is your strategy play here? Are you trying to be a price leader? Are you trying to be a IP leader? Are you trying to own a segment of that industry? Are you trying to own a demographic of that industry? So all that comes into play, because then after knowing what you want to do, should you also think about how do you best deploy AI? Of course, in trying to find out how do you win by drafting a strategy, you should already think about the capabilities of AI that can help you to define that space and also to help you stay ahead of the race. So I think that is the second part. And the third part is never too late to start vocalizing, communicating the need for this, and also to get your people ready. ERP has been around for quite a number of years. I think Lawrence will probably tell you that. Huh? So and yet we still have people who are still not ready. I can tell you that as well. So it is a perennial problem. It is a long-term problem, and we have to do that. And of course, from a tactical perspective, if the organization starts to work on the AI journey, going for very small projects, small wins is actually the right path from my experience to get things started, to earn trust, to align everyone, rather than do a big bang. Okay, this is the 10 projects, this is the biggest one. Let's kill this giant first, right? I think that is normally a recipe for failure based on my experience. In fact, get the smaller, lower hanging fruits, get it over with, get the people comfortable, then the momentum will start. You can't start the engine by putting such a big project in front of them. Yeah.
Taking baby steps. And have you seen any use cases and the benefits that you see that, after going through that transformation and manufacturers actually gain, from this integrated approach? Maybe you could share some examples. Yeah.
I did. So I work with a fair bit of companies from different industries, manufacturing being one of them. If you don't, in fact, you don't even have to ask me. You ask Copilot, you ask ChatGPT, you ask them, hey, how can AI benefit, manufacturing? It will come up, design, development, production, predictive maintenance, QA, vendor management, warehousing, all that will come up. But of course, that's why I still have some value. I had experience before, I've helped my clients before. So we have a few stories to share, right? So one of them is where we talk about this client has been very successful. They are manufacturing and they have high volume, but because they grew very organically, so they didn't have a well thought out plan in terms of their inventory movements and storage and also monitoring, basically. So it came to a point where trucks were lined up in about almost 1 kilometer, worst case, where they were waiting for things to be offloaded and unloaded. It delayed the whole cycle. So can technology solve this? Yes, of course. But before even we talk about technology, we need to understand what's the root cause. So the root cause was because the planning process was pretty much not done well, okay, to put it mildly. So the demand forecasting and then the procurement forecasting, and which leads on to the product, the inventory flow within the warehouse, even to the extent of where each goods are being put on what racks and stuff like that. All these are not thought through, not strategized, not thought about. So but with AI that came in, then with automation first, with before that, with the right policy, with the right thinking through, they apply automation, they apply AI to help them chart out the best routes, to help them firstly forecasting demand, secondly doing predictions, inventory management, as well as charting through the right scheduling for all the drivers to come in and go out. So that's one successful use case that I've seen. This is quite a large manufacturer. So the other one that I've seen is where they use AI for predictive maintenance. So I always tell my clients, actually, sometimes we thought of AI having a lot of sparks, a lot of fireworks, very, very exciting. But when it's applied to those non-exciting areas, it works very well. And let's not forget about that, right? So the fact that, oh yeah, predictive maintenance has been around for years, okay, preventive maintenance, but has it really been very useful for you? How do you apply AI to make it more useful? So nowadays you have, last time when we were still talking about Industrial 4.0, we talk about IoTs being one of the key drivers. Now people are talking about Industry 5.0 or AI. So you don't forget about 4.0, right? IoT is still relevant. This is where you gather data. So if you couple with IoTs, when you put it on the machines, and it can detect, depending on what machine, of course, it can detect the vibration and the wear and tear of the machine. And that's where your predictive maintenance or your preventive maintenance gets more accurate. And I mean, it's simple math. The less your machines break down or go for repairs, the more work is done, the more money flows in, right? And the other two areas which I should also talk about is also because this is a horizontal. It not only affects manufacturing, it affects everyone. Finance and HR, very, very no fireworks. In fact, you do not want to see fireworks there, but very crucial. You want someone to look after your finance. You want someone to make sure cash flow is all right. Your AP is processed. Your AR is processed. Debts are collected. Cash flow are being monitored. You want to make sure hiring is done quick and fast. You want to make sure training is also done. Performance assessment is done, and all that. So all this has to be considered. And the good news is that automation has been around for these areas for a very long time. And even better news is that with AI, it has reached a certain level of higher accuracy and also consistency. And that is very exciting for people like us, where we also handle a lot of these horizontals. And I think finally, sustainability is being thrown a hammer in the wheels right now because of whatever is happening in the world. It is still very important. Singapore still has a very dedicated, committed green plan. And I think from sustainability perspective, one of the things that is always bogging them down on top, in addition to having green practices, is also the reporting side of things, right? How do you extract these numbers? How do you extract it with minimal pay? And how do you then construct it into a document that aligns with the world reporting standards? All this right now with AI is very achievable. And I'm sure some of our panel speakers here will also tell you some of the green practices of using more green energy and stuff like that. So I think that's probably some of the things that I can, top of my head, I think I can share. Yeah.
Thanks, Lex. As you talk about green practices, I have a question for Kenneth now. So based on your past, sustainability leadership experience, what are some of the biggest obstacles in translating ESG ambitions into operational actions, especially across complex supply chains or when aligning internal teams? Perhaps you could share your journey with us.
Yeah, thanks Renee for bringing to me, and also thanks Lex for for your pointers. I think it's actually very, very interesting. This is also a lot of the pain points that a lot of companies go through, having to report ESG reports, and Singapore is mandating all companies, whether you're listed or not, to actually start reporting. So, and this, you see similar patterns in Japan, Hong Kong, UK, or even the state of California in United States. So I think this is definitely a trend. I mean, some might argue that there's a little bit of roadblocks, but I think all in all, this is a general trend. And I think there is definitely a role for AI and AI-infused ERP system to really play a major role. We always say follow the money. So, when we follow money, we figure out spending, we can actually better understand where our emissions is. I think for longest time, when I was at the early stage of this sustainability journey, you see a lot of companies starting to use what we call a spend-based methodology to really assign a carbon value to the amount of money you spent to really understand what's your emissions. The challenge over here is it's always easy to understand what is within your company's operational control, like the typical Scope 1 and Scope 2 emissions. Scope 1 meaning the direct fossil fuel that your company burns. Scope 2 meaning the purchased electricity that your company uses. So these are very direct, and there's a lot of reporting. And I think Singapore government also has this Project Greenprint, that supports using AI to actually scan your bills to actually understand what is your Scope 2 emission all about. So I think that there are incremental steps to really help us understand. And I think, but ERP, I feel, plays an even major role for smaller companies, because like it or not, when supply chain problem become very complex, you can't put a meter in every of your suppliers' production line. So a very important way is to actually work through ERP system. So in my course of work, in Razer or across Singapore Computer Society or SG Tech, we've been seeing a lot of companies using very smart ways of using ERP system and using it to actually understand what is the emission about. And more than often, it's not even just looking at assigning a carbon value to how much money you spent, but also trying to understand that the things that you procure can then be further break down. So for instance, as a manufacturer, you might buy a lot of components or even subcomponents. Then they are even using these components to actually do disclosure through the ERP system on RoHS and on REACH related kind of certification. And then when you understand the chemical composition of all the components and subcomponents that you procure, you can actually even do what we call a life cycle analysis of a product. So basically, it's still the same principle as following the money, but because with better disclosure and work with your ERP vendor to further customize and develop the solutions, I think you can actually get even more bang out of buck for every dollar you spend on the technology. So I think the future is definitely very exciting, and I think earlier there was a question that was being mentioned by Lex that said that sometimes it's the paint that really get people on board. I couldn't agree more. So I'm a firm believer of pain is your friend. So when you're feeling pain, it's the best time to start. Okay. And with the AI future that PM Wong talks about, as Singaporeans, we need to be a little bit more imaginative because you don't have a off the rack solution like we used to get in the past. In the past you could get a software solution out of you see very specific specs and you know what you want. But now if you can really imagine, you can really work with your AI team and even consultants like Lex to really develop a more bespoke solutions that's more applicable for your company. So I think for my advice to fellow Singaporeans is to keep imagining and you don't need to limit your imagination to what is available on the rack. To your surprise, you might be able to solve a lot more complex problem than you already know. Yeah.
Fantastic. So I'm curious also, we have a question for the audience as well. And, we'd like to check in with the audience with a poll. Has your organization already started capturing carbon emissions using systems? We're curious, right? Have you guys even started? Please participate in this poll and just share with us, whether you guys have already started. Very interesting. The numbers are moving very quickly. Yeah. Okay. Gives us an overview on the readiness of businesses today. All right. Wow. Okay. Thank you all for the participation. Fantastic. All right. Okay. Thank you. So I'll just end our poll right now. Okay. So, Kenneth, you mentioned quite a number of things that companies should kick off, but SMEs have limited resources. How should they even kickstart this whole process, especially for electronic manufacturers, like Razer? How do you guys even start from the beginning and then slowly transit? How should SMEs begin? Yeah, Kenneth.
Yeah, so I wear kind of two hats over here. So as the deputy chairman for Singapore Computer Society, I also work with a lot of IT professionals and also SMEs when they are wanting to get on board to using tech to solve problems. So we have two tracks. Firstly, green tech. Basically, your work when you develop a tech solution, you must try to use carbon efficient to be more carbon aware and also to use a language that is actually consume less. And there's another sector which I think quite relevant to what we're talking about today is tech for green. We feel that tech solutions can then be a key driver for green solutions. So I think SME play a major important role for even MNCs. So my counterpart from Microsoft and also from Razer ourselves, we started Queen Bee programs to help SMEs really get started. So there are a lot of Queen Bee programs being supported by Enterprise Singapore and EDB. So do look for your downstream partners, and you might be surprised that there is a Queen Bee amongst your downstream partners. And these Queen Bees, they are funded by partially funded by the Singapore government. And for instance, for razor suppliers, if you're SME suppliers, you can actually sign on to our supply chain program. We actually give you free software solutions for you to try on to start disclosing, and it's fully funded by Enterprise Singapore and Razer ourselves. Then you can actually have your first ESG report. Having a first ESG report is actually very, very important, because when you have your first ESG report, you can then qualify, you can go to the bank and you can ask for green financing. That means discounted, when you borrow a loan from the bank, you get discounted interest rates. And that really avails you to a lot more funding, and you can then drive better innovation, be it green related, or you could even drive AI slash sustainability related kind of programs within your manufacturing site. So I think there's a lot of means to an end. So first, start to look for partners, look down your value chain partners, and you can find a Queen Bee, get started, start reporting, and look for how you can opportunity you can capitalize on the sustainability report to finances and to more partnership. Another thing that my fellow counterparts in the tech industry is that when they want to look for new suppliers, they also want to look for suppliers with a very robust sustainability report. So the sustainability report might also help you to win new tenders. So I think it's a means to an end, and I think it's cyclical. So I think there's a lot of ways that we can really make sense of such solutions and really drive forward innovation. Yeah.
Fantastic. And now, as we talk about technology, right, I have a question for Lawrence. How does your ERP platform leverage AI to not only support operational automation, but also help manufacturers embed, workforce talent upskilling ESG matrix directly into their core processes? Can this be done even? Yeah, share with us.
Yes, absolutely. So I think the fundamental question is, again, choosing the right solutions, right? So it has to not only be looked at from a perspective of what you need now, what are the key pain points that you have, but just as well as beyond that. So again, the theme is future proofing. Okay, that's a very key word. So it should not be having this limitation for you to visualize beyond the initial phases of your ERP project, but also to support your growth and your plans down the line and towards the future. Okay, so in terms of having said that, right, I think the ERP solution should first be specialized in manufacturing. Okay, so it has to support the requirements of the make, move, and sell market. So manufacturers here at Epicor, we term them as makers, movers, and sellers, right? So what we do is we have, apart from that foundational functionality of the ERP, there's also what we call infusion of AI. So this infusion of AI also helps interpret large amounts of data. In terms of the data set, the ERP solution needs to help you collect that data end to end from the start of the demand generation or forecasting process all the way to selling and after sales service, right? Covering everything from, I would say, supply chain management, the manufacturing process, wastage management, so on and so forth. Okay, so in terms of how we do that in terms of data collection and AI infusion, you can start to see a convergence of both AI and the data sets to bring towards what we call a more intuitive kind of ERP systems. So in the past, where you talk about the evolution of ERP, it's always been data collection. So it's more like a system of record. So we're here at Epicor, we're turning that system of record into something, into actionable insights. We're turning into a cognitive ERP system. So it's leveraging what we call agentic AI. So we're building AI agents that specialize in different areas, in different roles and functionalities of the organization. to be able to handle, I would say, manage or become cognitive in the sense that in decision making, right? To make the AI into some decision-making solution for organizations. So in terms of how that translates to ESG, having to say that, right, if you're collecting that data set from the start towards the end of the production cycle, including logistics, you then have the ability to look at it more granularly and see, okay, how do I minimize wastage, right? How do I choose suppliers that would have a lower carbon footprint? How do I then report that and as a responsibility? So there's a lot of pressure to not just do that as a part of compliance, but also I think as a part of responsibilities. There's a lot of new generation, I would say, manufacturers who are starting to be a bit more aware, right, of choosing the right suppliers. In terms of customers-wise, they are also a bit more careful in starting to look at manufacturers who are more carbon-friendly. So there's this responsibility to the world at large, right, in terms of environmental, improving the environment for future generations. In terms of all of this, right, you put it together, there's also this particular look at how do I adopt such technologies in ERP. So at Epicor, we also look at, in terms of how we upskill the new generation of workforce. So there is always this challenge of Singapore having an aging population. We are having, I think, probably third generation of manufacturers, right? So you have the first generation of manufacturers who are starting to retire. The workforce is starting to retire, they are aging, and then they are passing the baton or the torch to younger generations. So there's always this knowledge transfer challenge as well. So here at Epicor, we also want to build knowledge bases. We also want to, we also have embedded what we call a knowledge assistant within our ERP system that helps onboard new staff very, very quickly. We have this technology called connected process control, also helping older generations of manufacturers indicate, right, or do create a process step by step, okay, to help the younger generations of manufacturers learn very quickly. Okay, step by step instructions on assembling, for example, a device or a product. And then it's connected to torque wrenches, digital torque wrenches, on how hard to actually torque the wrench and things like that. So these kind of technologies we put into our product, and together with AI infusion, we are actually setting the pace for customers to be more future-proof in terms of adopting Epicor ERP.
Well, as you talk about this, Lawrence, there's a question from Richard. He would like a specific example of how Epicor is using AI utilizing AI to improve vendor tracking. Example, on-time delivery, or any other examples.
So a vendor, for example, for vendors, part of a manufacturing process, right? You have to buy materials. So again, if you have a data set to prove, need to measure their performance in terms of their grading, their ratings, how do they do route optimization, for example, right? So is it something that is important to look at? What kind of data sets, in terms of even down to payments, right? Like whether they are on time on payments, in terms of whether they deliver on time, whether they actually practice quality control. So when you collect all this kind of data, right, start to give you this data set that can grade your suppliers. So it's important to start somewhere. And I noticed that there was a question put in the Q&A, whether you have that data set or not. So the answer would be mostly, I would say, you have to start somewhere, right? So if your existing data is not sufficient, then you have to start somewhere to start building that data.
Right. So I think this is pertaining to the question also by Casey on scheduling jobs in ERP. That's always been a key challenge for many. So how can AI help, and at what point in time can it be introduced? I think they don't know, like, is this the right time, or do I wait And when is that time, you know?
Yeah. So on that, right, I think the time to adopt AI is obviously yesterday, is right now. So I think how you would like to employ that would be to have that data set captured on a timely basis, to have that from a starting point. If you have legacy data on Excel, ERP systems can also import their data in, and to start that project with maybe a champion within your company to start looking into how you could, make sense of their data. There's no good or bad time to start because it's inevitable, like I said, right? So you have to start somewhere.
I'm just curious from the audience, right? I'd like you to participate in this poll. Is your organization going to reevaluate or implement AI-infused ERP system? Please choose a time frame. If after hearing from Lawrence, would you even reevaluate what you have? And if you have a timeline, what are your plans? Please feel free to participate in this poll. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, yes. Wow. We should have an option on yesterday, right? Lawrence, yeah. It is all like, next how many months, right? Okay, good. Fantastic. Right. So for those of you, yeah, you're still streaming in your answers. Okay. It's nice to see that different players are looking at different schedules, different timelines. It's really hard to say. Okay. All right. Sure. Wow, there are more of you polling right now. Thank you. Yeah, appreciate that participation. Yeah. Okay. All right. We'll share it with you after the session, and I'm gonna end this poll right now. Okay. Now, thank you all for the participation here. And the next question is for Dr. Khairill. Now, so this is a multi-stakeholders session, and at least we have a mid-tier SME. We want to hear from you directly because Deluge Fire has grown into a well-established manufacturer within Singapore's industrial ecosystem. Reflecting on your growth journey and current operations, what key lessons have you learned in scaling sustainably and managing the operations and building a future-ready workforce? Yeah, share with us some of the real-life examples that's happening on the ground.
Thank you so much, Renee. I think today all the three speakers were talking about the pain points, right? So the pain points were even much more painful just after COVID, I believe so, because that is where Deluge was operating on a very lean manpower, whereby all the borders were closed, and with the number of challenges that we face, especially because fire protection, right, involves safety critical aspects, and we are also having surmountable pressure on the increasing ESG reporting expectations. So this covers not only in terms of manufacturing of the components, but also the safety disposal and the transparency in the supply chains. Deluge would like to posit themselves as an ESG leader in sustainable fire protection. And this is where we also have to be cautious also when we operate in the Southeast Asian markets. The challenges were because of the regulatory maturity. Not all countries will think on the same page as you. And that's why making the standardization is going to be painful. Again, painful. It's not as taking a Panadol when you have so-called a headache, but if there is a hairline fracture internally, right, this is where you need to actually address the pain points. And this is necessary because why investors confidence will take a look at what the SME is doing moving forward. And especially with the UN SDG pillar, right? We wanted to have a net zero carbon footprint by 2030. This is where we realize that actually we need to have a future-ready workforce in a specialized industry. So one of the things that Deluge did, right, about 2 months ago is we create partnerships and by training programs with one of the private institute in Singapore, and we actually so-called open up a career pathway for those in the aviation programs if they would like to upskill their technical and engineering ability in the fire protection market. So the challenges is we reflect back during COVID, where we were operating in terms of a very lean management, and we are thankful actually. In fact, the Singapore government allow some of the Vietnamese staff to come into Singapore and to beef up our manpower. So this workforce, right, is that what Lawrence was saying, is not only future proof, they must be future ready. Because at the end of the day, right, even in the academics world, right, people were saying, oh, AI is going to take away our job. But it will only take away our job if we are not ready to embrace it. And in fact, like what Kenneth again was saying, we have been using the OCR, right? So actually, we forgot that actually this is what we have been doing. We have been embracing technology, but on a gentle aspect, But we also must realize in the SME, right, that our workforce must be capable to adopt IoT-enabled systems, AI-driven predictive maintenance, especially when Lawrence was saying, right, what is happening to the supply chain? Do we have enough supplies that is going to cushion the impact in 2 months' time, and also to integrate our fire safety solutions? So right now, there's a lot of like projects on the green building. So while we may want to embark on such a project, right, we also need to maintain the rigorous safety standards, because this involves so-called lives. And of course, that's where we need to have a specialized talent pathway for those students or graduates, right, who intend to work in the fire safety protection. Yeah.
So when it comes to, data visibility, ESG compliance, and cross-functional alignment, right? What are the challenges that you face around this? And how can digital platforms like AI-infused ERP systems that Lawrence shared would be able to drive that meaningful improvements in the organization? Yeah, Dr. Khairill.
I believe that when we have a future-proof and future-ready workforce, right, especially these graduates, they will actually assist the top management to make a decisive, critical decision-making process. Because at the end of the day, right, if this data, I think somebody was asking, like, when can we adopt it? Actually, it starts now. If you have a manual, so-called ledger, whatever it is, why don't you start to scan this? And then after that, using Excel, whichever is the software that you're comfortable with, right? That is where you need to gather all this data. And then you need to can make it even like a dashboard. So it starts from somewhere. And to have these meaningful improvements, right, is you got to study right on the right note. And having said that, I believe with the current graduates that we have right now, we have to start to so-called educate them on how to make use of these so-called ESG compliance and AI-infused ERP systems, because they will be the next generation that will be as a succession planning for us to move on, because we will leave one day. So these are the future generation who will continue after us.
So I'm just curious also from the audience, right? What is the kind of, budget that you would allocate for such systems, right? So there's a poll coming up. Hope you could participate and share with us what sort of budget range you're looking at, when to reevaluate or implement such systems. Yeah, please feel free to share. Yeah, okay. Yeah, let's take a look at what are the results? Yeah, and meanwhile, while waiting for the answers to come in the poll, feel free to post your questions, because we're gonna go into the Q&A segment right now. And to prep, there is already one question, which I think Lex has volunteered to answer that, but feel free for the other speakers as well. Yeah, let's prepare for that as we wait for the poll answers to come in. There's a question on how do we know if we have data ready for AI adoption? I guess the question is, what kind of data and how much data? How much is enough, right? And what kind are we talking about, right? Yeah, what are we tracking? So perhaps, I mean, since Lex, you volunteered, perhaps you want to kick off with that, yeah, to
Sure.
address.
Thanks, Renee. Yeah, I thought that question probably popped up because I mentioned data. That's why I pressed to answer. I think as in all good things in life, it depends. Sorry to say that there's no cookie cutter answer here in terms of like, okay, you have to keep data from this range or whatnot. It depends because it depends on what you want to be achieving. If you say that, for example, you want to look at predictive analytics for my demand or for my maintenance, So you then work backwards and understand what kind of data will help to train the AI in order to achieve that. So I think the working backwards is still very relevant here. So understanding what you want to achieve, and then we need to then work with you backwards. And the data could be potentially be most of it your data, but it could also be external data. So that's where things get interesting. And the data may also be non-digital native to begin with. Some of them could even be in images or in other formats, right? So all this require quite a fair bit of thinking through, and it's not as easy as, okay, I'm going to deploy an AI agent today, and all my problems will be solved. The agent requires configuration, training. It is pre-trained to a certain extent, but you still need to do a lot of those work. And more importantly, just like anything else, you need to provide it with information, and data is the information you need to provide it. Yeah.
Fantastic. And Kenneth, you also have a point to make. Yeah, feel free.
Yeah, so I think for any companies, when you are faced with this question, well, do we have the right data to start? There's only two scenarios to this. First scenario is you have all the data. If you have all the data, right, it's the best time to start because you already have the data. It's time to make sense of the data. The other scenario is you don't have the data. But when you don't have the data, right, it's an even better time to start because you need to start collecting data. So either way, right, companies do have to get on board. I'll give an example. For example, I noticed Epicor actually is actually linked with Climatic to analyze its ERP data for climate related impact. So how Climatic really started is really to really scrape off data from other legitimate literature and to compile a comprehensive list of carbon emissions and emission factors that they can then be purposed with full traceability and things like that. So there's really a lot of things that in the past no companies will be able to do that. But because with AI you can do it at such a massive scale, we can actually comb a lot of data, not just from the general public literature, but also sometimes even from competitors. There's a lot we can learn from, and I think it's a very good time that we should get on board, whether you have the data or not. You have the data, get started immediately. If you don't have the data, you have to start even sooner, right? Like yesterday. Yeah.
All right, and we have interesting questions from Casey and Colleen as well, So I think this one, Lawrence, is for you to answer. Right. AI need trusted and secure data. How ERP vendors ensure that they have built-in security for the manufacturers? And Casey asks, is it already available, AI-infused ERP, or is it in development phase? Yeah.
Okay, so on that, right, I'd say confidently, if you compare the whole buzzword AI narrative 2 years ago, okay, everyone's talking about it, show it on PowerPoint slides. But I think I'm confident to say today we can show it to you. Okay, it's something that's really out of the box. It can work. It can be demonstrated. So in terms of how that changes the whole narrative is that in terms of AI infusion into different parts of the ERP, right, to cover many different kinds of functionality, SMEs don't have to start, building your own models. So it's already pre-built. Yeah. So I'm going to ask Renee for for a repeat of the question because I kind of lost my.
Your thought, yeah. So
Yeah.
one is AI needed trusted and secure data, how ERP vendors ensure they have the built-in security for the manufacturers.
Okay, so on that part, everyone understands that ERP data is not public data, it's private data. So it's closed from public. So it's not how you would see AI operate in a generative sense of giving you, of combing the internet and then giving you information, right? It's something to make sense of on an internal sense that that data needs to be very, very secure. So Epicor is on a world-class cloud platform, Microsoft Azure. So it's also offering a very secure ISO certified kind of data protection. So we have multiple security layers that have been infused into the product that prevents AI from leaking that data into the public. Yeah.
And the product, the AI-infused ERP, is already available.
Yes, correct.
Right?
You're right.
Yeah, fantastic. Okay, so there's one closing question for all of you. If there's one bold step manufacturers in Singapore should take in the next 12 months to align with Manufacturing 2030 and Industry 5.0 with digital transformation, what would that be? Who'd like to go first? Lex, followed by Kenneth, Lawrence, and Khairill. Okay.
Sorry, Renee, could you repeat that? I
If
may
there's
have.
one bold step manufacturers in Singapore should take in the next 12 months to align with Manufacturing 2030 and Industry 5.0 with digital transformation, what would that be? What's that one bold step?
Don't wait for the pain to come. Keep it away. Use AI to keep the pain away and not when it comes. Yeah. So
Okay, who wants to go next? Yeah, Lawrence?
Yeah, sure. So I think it's a good first step to bold step to take a look at what PM Lawrence Wong has said, right? That to look out for these initiatives and support that the government will give and will support the growth of manufacturing SMEs in Singapore in the months to come. Look out for that, get involved, start a committee within your organization, and let's get the ball rolling on a conversation. Yeah.
And Kenneth?
Start difficult conversations, having town halls to tell them that the pain that they will be facing if they don't get on board. As you compare them with competitors. Yeah.
All right, and Dr. Khairill?
I would say because you're talking about pain, right? So I think AI is the antidote for infrastructure. Because at the end of the day, right, since Deluge is dealing with a fire safety protection, so I think AI is the best antidote for the industry. In that way, and it's like what I recap, like what Kenneth was saying, start talking on a town hall, and what Lex Lee was saying, right? It's like take it, before it hurts you even deeper inside. Yep, that's it from me.
All right, fantastic. Thank you so much. Let's put our hands together and, just thank all of our panelists today for their insightful sharing. And for those of you, audience, who are here, please feel free to keep in touch with us. And we look forward to seeing you at our series and also upcoming sessions. Do follow us and, get updated. All right. Thank you so much. To all of the audience, for those of you who came in early, the first 20 of you, you'll be contacted with the Grab e-vouchers in a bit. All right, so you can enjoy, some snacks later. Okay, thank you all. Thank you all so much. Thank you.